China's military is in turmoil. Xi Jinping has ousted several of his generals, including the vice chairman of the armed forces. Xi claims it's part of his drive against corruption and an effort to ensure ideological purity. To outside observers, well, it feels more like a power struggle inside the People's Liberation Army. We break down what's really happening inside the world's largest army and what it means for Xi's grip on power. There's a major power struggle playing out inside China right now, one that's tearing through the highest ranks of its military. President Xi Jinping has launched his most sweeping purge yet, ousting the People's Liberation Army's second-in-command and several other senior officers in what insiders describe as a fight for control over the future of China's armed forces. The latest casualty is General He Weidong. Now, until recently, he was one of China's two vice chairmen of the powerful Central Military Commission, or the CMC, effectively the number two figure in China's military, just below Xi Jinping himself. State media announced that he had been removed for what they called, quote, serious violations of party discipline and law. Now, that's the stock phrase Beijing uses for corruption or disloyalty. Also expelled was Admiral Miao Hua, that's the CMC's political chief who oversaw the ideological loyalty of the armed forces. Now he's gone. But as always in China, the real story isn't what's written in the official statements, it's what's left unsaid. Behind these dismissals lies a deepening struggle within the military's high command. Reporting suggests that the purge reflects an internal feud between two factions, an old guard loyal to Xi's longtime ally, General Zhang Youxia, and a newer generation of commanders, including He Weidong, who rose to the ranks of the 31st Group Army in eastern China. That unit, based near the Taiwan Strait, was once seen as Xi's personal power base. But over time, General He Weidong and his protégés reportedly gained more influence within the CMC, particularly after the sweeping 2016 military reforms that consolidated Xi's direct control over the armed forces. Now, several of those same officers are being purged. This latest shakeup follows last year's removal of the entire top command of China's rocket force, the branch responsible for nuclear and missile operations, amid reports of missing missiles, well, that's not good, corruption, and, quote, inoperable weapons. The country's defense minister at the time, Li Shangfu, was also abruptly dismissed and hasn't been seen since in public. Now, the pattern of dismissals suggests something larger than a campaign against graft. It's an extraordinary situation for a country working to project confidence and calm leadership abroad. Its top brass are being sacked at home. So, you ask, why now? Well, I'm glad you asked. There are likely a few reasons. First, the timing coincides with preparations for the Chinese Communist Party's fourth plenum. It's an important policy meeting where Xi is expected to reinforce his authority amid a slowing economy and rising external pressure. By removing top generals ahead of that meeting, Xi sends a clear message. The only loyalty that matters is loyalty to him. The move also sidelines any potential challengers before they can form rival factions within the Communist Party. Xi's leadership depends on the perception that his control is absolute. Any hint of division could invite instability inside the system. Second, the purges may be linked to genuine fears over the military's readiness. Reports have surfaced of corruption in procurement, including substandard missile fuel, fake parts, and missing funds in key weapons programs. One investigation last year even found that hundreds of missiles produced by the rocket force couldn't be used in combat. And third, there's the matter of trust. Xi's push for absolute loyalty in the PLA reflects a growing paranoia about internal dissent. In his speeches, Xi has repeatedly warned about, quote, traitors within, and urged commanders to, quote, purify the ranks. That doesn't sound good. In practice, that's meant more surveillance, more political indoctrination, and now another round of high-level removals. But the downside is clear. When generals start disappearing, it creates instability and uncertainty throughout the ranks. Military analysts warn that the shakeup could have ripple effects for China's combat readiness, especially in the Taiwan theater, where He Weidong once oversaw operational planning. Several of his replacements lack field experience, and the PLA's chain of command, well, it's been in flux for more than a year. As one Chinese insider told the Wall Street Journal, quote, "The army is afraid to move. No one wants to be noticed right now." End quote. All right, coming up next, Putin flexes his nuclear might. Sounds like he's compensating for something. While U.S. forces hit another suspected drug boat, this time in the Pacific, the eighth strike in a growing campaign. I'll be right back. Hey, Mike Baker here. Now, if you own a handgun for self-defense like I do, your storage likely falls into two frustrating categories: locked away and out of reach, or unsecured and vulnerable. And frankly, neither option is good. So let me tell you about a great company that's dealing with this problem. It's called StopBox. Now, StopBox USA has solved this weapon storage issue with their StopBox Pro. It's a mechanical keyless safe that offers fast, secure access without batteries or keys. Its push-button locking system ensures reliability when every second counts, and it drastically reduces response time while keeping your firearm protected, and that is incredibly important. With StopBox USA, you no longer have to choose between security and readiness. The StopBox Pro delivers both efficiently, reliably, and without compromise. For a limited time, our listeners at the PDB get 15% off at StopBox when you use code BAKER, that's B-A-K-E-R, at checkout. Head to StopBoxUSA.com and use code BAKER for 15% off your entire order. And after your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Do me a favor and tell them the PDB sent you. Welcome back to the PDB. After President Trump hit pause on his anticipated peace summit with Russian President Putin, the Kremlin moved fast to fill the silence, conducting a massive nuclear drill that put missiles and, frankly, Moscow's unease on full display. According to Russia's Ministry of Defense, the drill tested every leg of the regime's nuclear triad. A Yars intercontinental ballistic missile launched from northern Russia, a submarine in the Barents Sea fired Sineva ICBMs, and high above, Tu-95 bombers unleashed long-range cruise missiles. Putin oversaw it all from a military command room surrounded by television screens, his defense minister on one side, his chief of staff on another, each man a link in Russia's nuclear chain of command. The Kremlin insisted the exercises had been planned well in advance, but the timing, just hours after Trump postponed their upcoming Budapest summit, was tough to ignore. Officially, Moscow said the drill was meant to test the readiness of command structures and the procedures for authorizing nuclear use. Unofficially, it looked like theater, a display of strength masking anxiety as diplomacy appears to be slipping away. You may remember that Trump's decision to shelve the meeting came after a tense call between Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. The two were set to meet to lay the groundwork for the Trump-Putin summit. According to officials close to that exchange, Lavrov reiterated that Russia's stance, quote, had not changed since Trump and Putin met last August. The Russian foreign minister told reporters Moscow wasn't interested in, quote, a ceasefire that will lead to nothing. It's a remark that only deepened Trump's frustration. And so by Tuesday, the decision was made. Trump told reporters, quote, I don't want to have a wasted meeting, brushing off speculation about when or if the summit would ever happen. The sticking point was the same as ever, Moscow's demands, and Moscow's demand in particular that Ukraine withdraw from the Donbass region. It's a non-starter for both Kyiv and Trump's latest 12-point ceasefire framework. Kyiv later accused Moscow of stalling peace discussions while praising Trump's persistence in keeping diplomacy alive. Inside the Kremlin, the mood was anything but calm. Officials reportedly scrambled to downplay Washington's pause, insisting preparations for the summit were still ongoing. Putin's mouthpiece, Dmitry Peskov, tried to save face, telling reporters, quote, no one wants to waste time, neither President Trump nor President Putin. Effective meetings require careful preparation, end quote. His tone sounded steady, but the message was defensive, a clear sign that Trump's pause had knocked Moscow off balance. When pressed further, Peskov waved off the growing chatter. Quote, there's no news yet. It's all gossip and rumor. Then the Kremlin spin machine kicked in. Russian officials accused Western media outlets of staging a, quote, information circus to sabotage the talks and to, quote, embolden Zelensky. A spokeswoman from Russia's foreign ministry went even further, blaming, quote, fake leaks, denials, and confirmations for what she called a Western plot to derail diplomacy. But the optics are clear. Trump's pause is deliberate, a negotiating tactic from a leader whose patience appears to have finally worn thin, apparently. While Putin's missile show looks reactionary, a strong man masking unease behind military muscle. All right, shifting gears. An eighth suspected cartel vessel was destroyed in U.S. military operations, this time in the Eastern Pacific, where President Trump has broadened his campaign to eradicate the hemisphere's narco-terror networks. According to the Pentagon, the late Tuesday strike followed a now familiar sequence: identify, track, and eliminate. U.S. intelligence had been monitoring the vessel, flagging it as part of a drug trafficking network operating along a well-known smuggling corridor in international waters off the coast of Colombia. Once the confirmation came in, Trump gave the green light. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth said 2 people on board were killed and no American casualties were reported. The Pentagon later confirmed the vessel's ties to a cartel designated as a foreign terrorist organization by the State Department, though it withheld specifics. Intelligence linked the crew to a network responsible for major cocaine shipments into the U.S. In a post to X, the Secretary of War wrote, quote, narco-terrorists will find no safe harbor anywhere in our hemisphere, drawing a direct parallel to America's post-September 11th wars. Quote, just as al-Qaeda wages war on our homeland, these cartels are waging war on our border and our people, end quote. Now, the strike marks the first U.S. operation in the Pacific since Trump's anti-cartel campaign began back at the beginning of September, underscoring how the fight has expanded beyond the Caribbean's amassed 10,000 U.S. troops and dozens of warships off the coast of Venezuela. As we've been tracking here on the PDB, at least 34 suspected traffickers have now been killed since the campaign began. The administration has formally described the effort as a, quote, non-international armed conflict against transnational cartels responsible for tens of thousands of American deaths each year. That widening scope, moving from the Caribbean to the Pacific, comes at a time of sharp criticism from Colombia's leftist president, Gustavo Petro, who accused Washington over the weekend of, quote, murder. Trump fired back almost immediately, denouncing Petro as a, quote, illegal drug leader and lunatic who enables narcotic production. Trump followed up his comments by announcing a freeze on more than $700 million in U.S. aid to Bogota. Coming up in the back of the brief, the Maduro regime has launched a new app that lets Venezuelans report everything they see and hear. Critics say it's the latest step in turning citizens into informants. More on that when we come back. Hey, Mike Baker here with a great offer from our friends over at Birch Gold Group. Now, for a limited time, you can buy gold and get free silver. What's not to like about that? That's right. For every $5,000 purchased from Birch Gold Group this month in advance of Veterans Day, they'll send you a free patriotic silver round that commemorates the Gadsden and American flags. Look, gold is up some 40% just since the beginning of this year, and Birch Gold can help you own it by converting an existing IRA or a 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. Plus, they'll send you free silver honoring our veterans on qualifying purchases. And if you're current or former military, well, Birch Gold has a special offer for you. They're waiving custodial fees for the first year on investments of any amount. With an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, many of whom are PDB listeners, I encourage you to check out Birch Gold Group and see if diversifying into gold is right for you. Text PDB to the number 989-898 for a free information kit and to claim your eligibility for free silver with a qualifying purchase before the end of the month. Again, it's simple. Just text PDB to 989-898. In today's back of the brief, the Maduro regime has ramped up its paranoia, launching an app designed to turn ordinary Venezuelans into government informants. President Nicolas Maduro has announced a new mobile application that he says will allow citizens to, quote, report everything they see and everything they hear 24 hours a day, end quote. Well, how delightful. On paper, the app is framed as a patriotic tool, a way for Venezuelans to help defend the nation. In reality, of course, it's the latest expansion of the regime's surveillance state, transforming everyday life into an extension of the intelligence services. The app connects directly with the Bolivarian National Armed Forces, Venezuela's militia network, and the so-called Popular Bases of Integral Defenses, a series of neighborhood-level defense groups loyal to Maduro. Users are encouraged to file reports through the platform, which routes those tips straight to the military chain of command. It's not just about spotting suspicious activity, it's about deputizing citizens to watch each other. The launch comes amid growing unease, of course, inside the regime. Maduro has repeatedly warned of what he calls foreign plots to destabilize Venezuela, especially, of course, from the U.S. But observers say this latest move reveals more about his fear of internal threats than external ones. Since disputed elections last year, and by that I mean Maduro stole the election, Caracas has seen new waves of dissent, including within its own ruling party. Protesters have accused the government of mass arrests, and the opposition claims hundreds of activists remain missing. Now, this app formalizes something that's existed informally for years, the regime's network of cooperating patriots, civilian informants who quietly feed tips to security services. It's the next stage of Maduro's surveillance architecture, pairing smartphones with old-school authoritarian tactics. And Venezuela is not alone in doing this. Around the world, other regimes, of course, are using new technology to tighten old systems of control. In Iran, authorities now use a mobile app and even drones to let citizens report on women for alleged hijab violations because, of course, there's nothing more threatening to the stability of a government than women daring to show their hair in public. Meanwhile, in Nicaragua, Daniel Ortega's government has passed sweeping telecoms laws that allow the state to monitor, censor, and track online dissent. Human rights advocates warn the consequences will be chilling, and for that, those advocates collectively win today's PDB Statement of the Obvious Award. In a country already gripped by fear, meaning Venezuela, neighbors may now report neighbors for comments, complaints, or simple suspicion. And because the system runs through the military, there's no clear oversight or recourse for those falsely accused. And that, my friends, is the President's Daily Brief for Thursday, the 23rd of October. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out to me at pdb@thefirsttv.com. And if you get the chance, please check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find that, of course, on YouTube at President's Daily Brief. I'm Mike Baker, and I'll be back later today with the PDB Afternoon Bulletin. Until then, stay informed, stay safe, stay cool.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and leave a comment, a really positive, nice, and kind comment. That would be appreciated. And if you're not already subscribed to our channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any of our daily updates.